Okay, great. So we're streaming live to YouTube now. Okay, so we promised to have this session a lot earlier, but we just have to make sure it's at prime time at night that nobody would disturb us in the daytime since we didn't plan earlier. So let me go ahead and get on the matter. So today I wanted to talk to us about using API agent as a middleware. API agent as a middleware. So I'm just going to go ahead and open what we're working on. See, I think we have. Let me share my screen. All right. So this is the API agent now. And yeah, this is the API agent. Let's go ahead and try to just see what we can do here. So these were the integrations that we had created, but these are all known now. In fact, we can say revoke refresh tokens, and so it's going to give us invalid refresh token. So that is it. So if we delete, we delete. So now we don't have any self client. So let's go to our console now. API console, API-console.zoho.com to generate something. But before we start with generation, let's just quickly go to one of our apps where we have integrations. Let's say like Zoho Flow integration. So we have a Zoho CRM to Zoho Books flow. Okay. So this is it here. And what this does is that it, when an entry is created in Zoho Books, fetches the customer, checks the customer whether the customer exists. Then we try to update or create this customer. Okay. Now let us see whether we can do this with fewer steps. Okay. And we're going to use a different flow for this. So let me go to Zoho Flow now, and we're going to create a flow. But before we create the flow, we're going to go to Zoho Books API. And we're going to go to Zoho CRM API. So let's open Zoho Books API. What do we need from Zoho Books API? We need to fetch the entry. We're still going to do this entry created, but we're going to modify this real quick. Okay. Or we're going to follow this method, but we're going to do something entirely different. We're going to use functions. So when an entry is created, we're going to go to a function that we'll call the function is going to get details. Or let me see. Okay, let's deal with the data here and only use Zoho Books API. So Zoho Books API is going to fetch customer. It's going to put this data into let me just confirm what this does. Okay, just put some data like salutation and other things. Okay, fine. So we're going to deal with that update and create. We're also going to check if it exists. Now, this check time mods, we're checking the time it was modified in this function. I think we will still work with this, but we will continue from here. So this is where the bridge is going to happen. So I think we can modify this flow, okay, and we should be fine. Or we can duplicate the existing flow. So let's see, yeah, we can duplicate this one. So let's make a copy and say, call this code base. So let's work with code base. Good. So we're going to work with this one so that we can change it. We'll go to the builder here. Okay, great. So everything is here. Now this test outlook, I'm wondering what this is about. Okay, we already have a function here. This is fine. So what we are dealing with is checking if the customer exists and then updating the customer or creating a new customer. So let's do that with Zoho Books API. So to check if the customer exists, we're going to use contacts here, but let's open the main API so that we can navigate to other things. So this is for contacts endpoint. And I think that deals with everything that we're going to be working with. So we're going to work with a few things. Checking if the contact exists is going to be from retrieving the contact. I think for this, hold on a second. Okay, we have get contact, yes. So we are going to use get contact to check if the contact exists. Okay. And you see that there's auth token and everything here. So we're going to deal with that real quick. You see that this is the auth scope. So in all the API documentation, the auth scope is always going to be specified. So we have the auth scope here for getting a contact. Then we have, we are going to also update the contact. So to update the contact, this is going to be what we would use. Okay, now what are we going to do to update these contacts? What are we updating? So let's try to document our activities here. We're going to be updating, let's just prepare. We'll update the salutation, the first name, last name, the display name. Oh, that's where we have the output message. Okay. Let's keep checking. Is there anything else? Okay. No, we're still on. Okay, this is fine. So this is what we're going to update in the contact. Now, if we're creating the contact, what fields are we going to use? I think the aspect of creating the contact is, this is taking some time to open up. Let me open it again. Okay. So, okay, we have the subtype individual. Okay. Type individual. Let's go to the subtype. Individual. Okay, then we have the I think it's the usual thing that we have. Okay, so this is okay. Every other thing is not going to be updated. So I think we are good. So the only thing is we're going to put subtype for create, but we're going to have salutation, first name, last name, display name. Okay. So we've taken care of that. So we're checking if, let me see what is checked here. Okay, let me take note of the checks. So if the customer does not exist, okay, so let me document checks. So we're checking customer not exists. We're going to check if customer ID is null. We're going to check if status is true. I'm wondering what the status is about. Let me just do a search. Okay, status is in test outlook. So it's like an outcome in test outlook. So we're going to collect that information like into a function. Okay. So let's document status from test outlook. We're going to get it from that test outlook function. Okay, and if it's true, and these are and. So let's put the and here. I'm just checking. I'm just documenting. Then email is from where? Email is the initial entry created and what. So we're going to get it from the email equals this empty. This is from the entry created part or updated. Okay. So we're going to get the email from that part. Okay, so we're going to use this to do processing. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to batch this processing into two parts. I'm going to start with the status part and the email part. Then I will continue to the customer part. Because I don't want to waste API calls when the other values are not true or are not accurate. Yeah, they are not what we expect here. I won't waste API calls. Then we have if the customer exists. Now we're going to have to check a couple of things. Okay. So let's check who checks. Customer exists. So customer ID it's not null. Okay, now we have status is true. So that means we are going to group everything. Okay, so let's group the whole check. So status then has to be true in both cases. Okay. So I'll put status is true in the group. Status is true. Okay, and everything else in the group. Then we have email equals. So email equals is also a group affair. So we're going to take that to be a group affair. Okay. So the whole group email equals nothing. Okay. And then the check time mods is going to be gotten from check time mods. So check time mods gotten from check time mods. Let's see, is there any check time mod anywhere? Okay, so this one's only under customer exists. So for customer exists now, we then have only check time mods. Okay, then we have then customer. So then is let's do afterwards. So that means that check time mods is positive before we check if customer does not exist. So the first thing is to do the group things. The second thing is to do the check time mods. The check time mod is true. If it's not true, then we cannot do the things inside this one. Okay, which is the outcome. And customer must be equal to so the check time mod is true, no customer exists. So let's do so that means that let's go to customer. So customer is customer not no status and all that. Then let's check time mods. So check time mods. We will start with check time mods, then customer ID. So let's start with check time mods, and then customer ID is not null. I'm trying to arrange this in my notes. Then that's for customer exists now. For customer not exists, we already have status and email as general things, so it's just customer is null, customer not exist. Okay, fine. So how are we going to arrange this? If customer does not exist, we'll go and create the customer. After checking with the group, if the customer exists, no, we will check the time mod method first. Because the time mod is checking whether it is true. So if the time mod is not true, then it doesn't update the customer. Okay. So it doesn't do anything. So we stop here. Okay, so this logic has been planned. And now that we've planned our logic, it's now time for us to go and start building up what we should do next. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is to disconnect this flow. I'll shift this aside. Okay. So this is sorted out here. Now let us for us to run this API now, we have to do our authentication. And this is a put. No, let us start with the get. The get is the first part. Now, in order for us to do get contact, we need to create a function for getting contact. But for us to start building functions, let us now do our middleware. Are we ready? So we go to, oh, this has asked me to authenticate. Let me authenticate again. So I've authenticated. So let's make sure that this works for middleware. Okay, I'm not sure why this didn't pick up. It's supposed to pick up. Let me resend push again. Six. Okay. So I believe this should pick up now. If it doesn't, then I'll just sign it another way. Okay, so let's sign another way. Scan QR code. Okay. Okay, great. So this should work. Okay, now this is crazy. For whatever reason, it's not. Let me sign another way now. Using 59359. Yeah. Okay, that shows. I think it does. I'll have it with it now. Oh, sorry. I was using the wrong account. Sorry. I think this is a 173. Yeah, there we go. So let's just scan QR. I'll scan QR. Okay. So let's wait for it. It's not connecting to server. Okay, so for some reason my phone is not connecting to server, but let me try. It's a different data source. I'll just keep trying. This is interesting. Okay, it's for the phone. So it's for the phone. Okay, so I guess this should work. Great. So I think it's just a synchronization problem. So let's add a client. We're going to add our self-client. Create, enable. So we have our self-client created. So we're going to go to our client config here now. And we'll call this Zoho Books Read and Updates. Okay. We're going to choose Zoho US here. Remember, in this our console editing, okay, let me okay, let's okay, OAuth/v2/auth. I think that's it, but let me just confirm. That is it there. Let's go to self-client. I just need to be very sure. Okay, so OAuth/v2/token. That's what it is. So we're going to do OAuth/v2/token. Okay. Now for client ID, we'll pick this client ID here. Now, this is not a serious account, so if you are hacking, too bad. Put the client secret. And this would have been deleted by the time you watch this video anyway, maybe later. But whatever I do here is just going to be within the perspective of the Zoho books has nothing. So there's really nothing, and you're just fetching, adding, and updating. So now we need to get a temporary code. So we'll generate temporary code. For us to get this temporary code, we have to use this to, so we'll have dot read, put it in the scope, do a comma, then let's go to create a contact. At some point we'll create, so we have create. So put it in the scope. Then we have the third scope here, which is update. Update of the contact. Put it in the scope. Okay. Okay, so we're going to also give this 10 minutes so that we can generate the scope. So we'll call the Zoho books read, create, and update. Ideally, this is supposed to be create, read, and update. Yeah, because that's the order of things. We're not going to give delete permission. So we say create, read, and update. So let's just take create to the front. Read and update. Okay, so I think we are good. So let's click create. It gives us the code. So this is the scope. The scope are separated by commas. So we're going to paste that code here, and we'll just click add. So when we go to the self clients now, we see that it has generated our access token and refresh token and what have you. Okay. So everything is smooth here. What we need to do now is to create a function. But before we create the function, we're going to fetch data from Zoho Creator. Okay. So in this Zoho flow here, we're going to look for Zoho Creator. Okay, this has create an update, but let me check. I'm not sure what this connection does, but it should be able to give you information. So let's just work with it. So let's say get client config. Choose the application API agent. We choose the form. Add client config. We choose the reports. All self-client configs. Then we choose the field name. This field name now is what we're going to use to fetch the data. And what I usually use is the configuration name. That's what I commonly use. I don't use any other thing because I don't think that any other thing is safer. Though if you like, you can use client ID, but then configuration name points you to the specific configuration. Now, what's the value of this configuration? Let's go to what we added now. We added Zoho books create and update. So we're going to copy this now. And then we're going to, we don't need that again. So we're going to, we don't also need this one. So we copy that name and we go to the flow, paste it here. Okay, and we click done. So this We'll now fetch client config or fetch ZB client config, the Zoho Books client config. So we set it up now to fetch the configuration data that we're going to need to work with. Okay. Then we'll build a function that will just be generating additional access tokens. Okay. So we're generating additional access tokens using the refresh token. So the refresh token is going to come out of this data. So now we have this, we need to create a function now. Custom function. This function is now going to be generate access token. Okay. What do we need to generate access token? Let's come to our client code now so that we can plan. Okay. So get access token and refresh token. Okay, this is when you refresh the token when it expires. So this is what we need to deal with. So we need the client ID, we need the client secret, and we need the refresh token. Good. So we're going to come here now and say client ID, which is obviously a string, client secret, which is obviously a string, and then refresh token. Okay. So with this, we will be able to generate continuously. We've already gotten the data now from the API agent as a middleware, then we'll be able to generate continuously. So let's now use this function now. So let's do something real quick. We'll come to right here. So we're going to say get access token, okay, equals invoke URL. So this is supposed to be the URL, okay? And let me see the type of call. Okay, this is a get call. Okay, this is a get call. Okay, no, this is a post. So for post, we will put this data in the URL. Remember, we had an experience with this. For post, we're going to build it into a map. So we'll call these parameters or param, say map. Then what are the values here? The values are, okay, pretty much provided already. So we have client ID. So we have param.put client ID. Okay, then let's just use copy and paste to arrange things. How many fields do we have? Well, client ID, we have client secret, we have refresh token. Two things. So this client secrets and refresh token. So what we will just do with client ID is to say client ID. Now, what I normally like to do in order to avoid confusion, I like to name variables differently from what I use in the code. So I'll do refresh token like this. so that I can say client ID is this. I can say client secret is this. And I can say refresh token is this. So now we have our parameters. All we need is to build up the URL. Now we can also include grant type, because grant type is one of the things. So we'll say grants type. And that is refresh underscore token. So now that we don't have anything to append to the URL, we're going to reduce the URL into just this. And this URL too is something that we will also get. So we'll also get the URL. So string URL. Okay. Because this was what we used before. Though this is for India, but this was what we used before. So we have all our data for this connection all sorted out. Okay. Now let's say param. Oh no. Okay, no, URL is URL. So let's call this URL. Then the type here is posts. Okay. Then the type here is param. So these are the parameters. Now we are now going to include headers. So what are the headers that we need to include? We don't need headers in this one. So headers will not be in this one. This is just a generate token. Headers will be in the other ones. So when we want to generate token now, it's going to give us some values. Okay. So we're going to have, okay, this will give us access token. So I think access token is fine. Then you have API domain. Yeah, I think we can work with API domain. So let's do access token and API underscore domain. Okay. So in order not to have errors, we will do this. We will say if get access token dot contain key access token equals true. Okay, and now this is supposed to return a map. Okay, so we have value, let's call it report. This is how I usually like doing my own maps for reports. I will have reports.put, I will have status, I will have false. I will have reports.put. In this case now, let me have data. I have no. I don't want to have message because message doesn't feel necessary to me. In this case, I just want values. So I will say if then get access token dot contain key. Apart from access token, what else did we get from here again? API underscore domain. API underscore domain equals true. Okay. Let's confirm that this is okay. Okay, great. So this equals true. Then we can then say reports dot put true. That is put status. I will make this true. Then we'll say reports dot data dot put. Okay, before we put the data, yeah, We're going to build up the data. So how are we going to build up data? We will have a map called report data. We'll say equals map. Okay, there's light out, but you can see my screen. Okay, so report data dot put, and this is going to be access token. Then we're going to call this get access token dot get access token, which we already had the key. Because if you don't do that check at the top, you may end up having an error that the key is not there, in case there's an error. So this is a tidy way of avoiding errors. Okay, but I will tell you how you can also avoid errors in case there's something we did not see here. Okay, and which is why I'm going to now introduce successful. I'm going to introduce message. Our message here is nothing. Okay, so in this case, message is going to mean something now. We've already put the report data now. So we're going to put the message value as successful. Okay. Then we'll now put, that's the message now, then we'll put the report data under data. We're now going to put report data. Now, this can give issues if there's any problem at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a try catch. Now, this try catch, we'll start it from here. We'll say try. Okay. Try all these things. Then we will say catch error. So that is the error there now. Now we will then take this our report matter here and put it on this try catch. Okay. Then this is false. Then we'll call this error. So now we can even try this function right now. Okay, hang on. I think I've missed something somewhere. Okay, there's something wrong with the try catch. This is very strange. Okay, so this is okay, this is catch here. Okay, hang on. So we have the I need to let's just remove this first. Okay, so this is here. So we'll start the try from here. Close this. We'll still do the catch here. Okay, let me show line 18. Okay, I think this is line 22. Get access token. Okay, I didn't close the bracket here. Wait. Okay, so this has to return a map. And what is going to return after all the try catch is reports. So we have our middleware, which is ready. Very secure. If we click execute and we put rubbish here, since they are all strings, which is my usual habit, I use strings all through, I'm going to have an output. Error at line 16 due to what. Okay, so you see that this is very tidy. I have my data, my message, and my status. So I really don't have to deal with clutter or headache with this. So I can just make a decision based on the map. Right. So now that this is sorted out, we can put our middleware on top of it. So we can say after fetching the see the generate access token, we'll drop it down here. Now to generate access token then, we will put the URL in here. So when we fetch the client config, you see that we already have everything that we need. So let's have OAuth URL. It's OAuth URL. So we're going to put this here. Client ID, put this here. Client secrets, put this here. And refresh token, we'll put this. Where is our refresh token now? Put this in. And click save. So we have built our middleware. Okay. Let's just put some space in here. Okay, now that we've generated access token, we're going to activate this so that you can see that this works. But then on Friday, we're going to do the updating of customer and the creating of customer and all that. I'm just going to save my notes. Because if we go into writing all that code now, we will be in a lot. All right, so let's enable this. I don't know if we can test this. Okay, so now let's go make an update in Zoho CRM, shall we? So we'll go make an update in Zoho CRM. Okay. Let's just see that this works effectively. So we have John Doe here. So let's update John Doe. Edit this. We'll probably make it Dr. John Doe. Okay. So let's go to Zoho Flow and see what happens. So this now has brought out the data for testing. The Dr. John Doe. So if we click done, okay. So let's do recent execution and check outcome. Okay, I think this didn't even work out, but let me check it from here. Okay, this. So you see, everything stopped at generate access token. So let's see whether Zoho Creator did the right thing. Okay, so I was able to get the Zoho Creator record, quite all right. Then was I able to generate access token? I got my client ID, client secret, URL, and refresh token. And my output was with the access token I generated, the API domain, the message, and the status. So you see, with this, we can collect data and use this data to carry out our validations and do different things in various apps. And the good thing is, we can have this set up in a flow and make that flow like a subflow that we can be using to maybe do this middleware of authentication across all our different flows. So have that flow as a middleware that connects to various applications, and we can change the integration without modifying Zoho Flow and without modifying our code base anywhere else. We just need to go straight to this app and carry out our updates as advised, or we can even revoke refresh token if there's danger we want to avert. So thank you so much for being in this session. We've had quite a time. I think we have spent about, let's see, how long have we been here? We spent almost an hour, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to bring this to you. So I have fulfilled the 26 days. So from the next session, we'll just start counting 27, 28, 29, 30, like that, until we have 20 days left to complete this the 50 webinars. Have a great day, everyone, or good night, everyone, and